Alison Tavel, whose father died in a car accident when she was an infant, grew up with the family stories that her dad was a charming genius and the creator of an early music synthesizer he had dubbed the Resynator. The truth was more complex. Discovering that truth led Tavel on a decade-long journey to create the documentary Resynator, which premieres Sunday, March 10th at the South by Southwest Film TV Festival. "This is not the story I was trying to tell," Tavel tells Billboard, explaining how she planned to share a little-known piece of music technology history involving her father Don Tavel. Instead, she also created a family history with deeper impact. Resynator is a film that explores the connections between mental health and creativity against the backdrop of musical invention. This is a search for your dad. Peter Gabriel, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame singer-songwriter, and one of the few early users of the Resynator, says to the filmmaker, who visits Gabriel's offices in London 37 years after her father made the same trip. Alison Tavel describes in the film how, after her father's death, she grew up in a loving home, a magical world, with her mother, who remarried, and her stepfather. She narrates the documentary, often addressing her late father directly. "Dear Don, you've missed a lot over the years," she says. "I've always loved music. And everyone told me, I got that from you." Growing up with those family stories of how Don Tavel invented the synthesizer in the 1970s. She wanted to write a school report in 4th grade on her father's achievement. She opened an encyclopedia to the entry for synthesizer, and read instead of the well-known success of Robert Moog. "I didn't do my report on the synthesizer," she says. It would be years before she thought of her father again. Tavel worked for a music publisher, then as an assistant and later a road manager for Grace Potter. And at age 25, in her grandmother's attic, she discovered her father's invention packed away in a cardboard box. "I was looking for a keyboard, because that's what I thought a synthesizer was," she says in the film. "And then, I pulled out this black, rectangular box, with a bunch of knobs on it. From what I can remember, being told, it's a rack mount, monophonic, instrument-controlled, pitch-tracking synthesizer. But I don't know what any of that stuff means," she says, laughing. "More simply, it's like a cool blend between a synth, which is, by definition, a synthetically derived sound, but it's being triggered by an organic instrument," says Potter's engineer and husband Eric Valentine. "So it's this really interesting combination." In the film, Potter offers Tavel clear advice. "I just think you should get as many people to play with this thing as possible and see what comes of it," she says. "See what it sparks," says Potter. Among the artists and performers seen interacting with or commenting on the Resynator are musician and actor Fred Armisen, Ani McIntyre of the Average White Band, producer Butch Vig, Wally DeBacker of Gautier, Raina Russum of LCD Sound System, drummer Kenny Aronoff, Will Gregory of Goldfrapp, Adrian Utley of Portishead, Mike Gordon of Fish, Rami Jaffe of the Foo Fighters, and John Anderson of Yes. "Your dad was creating something that was the beginning of a lot of things," says Anderson. In one of the film's most moving segments, Tavel brings the Resynator to Colombia to the studio of Latin Grammy-nominated producer and musician Christian Castaño. Playing guitar through the device, he declares, "It clearly has that old-school, textured, beefy sound," gesturing with his fist. "It's a super trippy machine. Synthesizers that I've encountered could almost be thought of as domesticated animals. And here, this thing is like a Wolverine or something." The film takes a somber turn when Alison Tavel seeks out one of her father's friends, Gordon Baird, the co-founder of Musician magazine, which was under common ownership with Billboard during the 1980s. She discovers that her father was visiting Baird in the days before the car accident that took Don's life. And she learns for the first time of her father's depression and emotional turmoil.